Okay, we are good. We are good. I just had some very nasty coffee. It's like the bottom of the pot. I guess it burned a little bit or something. Ugh, it's hilarious. Um, I'm actually gonna grab one thing. I'll be right back. Come in. Okay, cool. So we are good. We are going to be making some changes to a vibe coded project today, a AI coded project today, a MVP today. And the goal is just to make it to a point where it's better than it is now. Oh my God, this hair is ridiculous. So, what I have is coming from, I have two different things that I want to build right now. One of them is basically a document processor, like a Word doc sort of thing, or a place where you make documents and text files, but you're able to use a data source, like a knowledge base, and you're able to use a tone like a certain persona of a voice, like a writer, right? If you want it to be you, it can be just you, and that's fine. Or if you want it to be different people in your business, that's fine as well, right? So we have the databases, we have which are going to be separated by categories, basically. We have the personas, which are going to be separated by tone and personality. And then we're also going to have the ability to publish these things. So we're going to set them to publish on different things like Facebook, Substack, or whatever makes sense, and newsletter even. And then potentially there's another use, but I'm not sure. But I'm just like picturing it visually right now, and I literally see it as like a middle section document processor, top quadrant, bottom quadrant, top quadrant, and then another quadrant that doesn't have data right now. But what I did was I one prompted this, I one shotted it, and obviously it's not good enough. So we're going to take that one shot prompt and we're going to move it into, or we're going to piece by piece kind of walk you through the process of how I look at an interface and how I decide how to make those changes, because this is the big component of it all, right? Anyone can go and prompt a couple of things, but you have to decide what's worth prompting. The decision making is what's worth prompting. It's still the differentiating factor of quality. Okay. So let's just get into it and then I'll show you kind of what we're going to do. But this is Bolt. I will start sharing my screen here in a second. Let me pull up the right one. So this is Bolt, and this is my one prompt that I used to get going. And let's see here. I think you can see, I'm just going to pull my screens down so I can monitor the situation. Okay, we're good. Cool. So we have Bolt here. And like I said, I had one prompt. We're going to do this for maybe 40 minutes here. So I had one prompt that I did that I literally just turned on my voice transcriber on. And I just was like, I was literally laying on my couch and I was like, I know I want to build this. I'm not going to build it in one shot, but let me just get the basic components out. And then it went ahead and did that, started the project, got, a lot of it done as far as like the foundation. And now we have this. So this is somewhere along the lines of what I want, but we need things to be a lot cleaner, simpler, and then built out, fleshed out. But the thing with me is I always aim for simplicity. And so this to me is better than something that is like a clear vibe coded project. And I don't like using vibe coding in a sort of like how would I say it? Like a negative derogatory way, because I don't think that vibe coding as a whole is something that is like that. I think there's so much value in it. So what I'm trying to do, and I deleted the repo. I was trying to show you guys like what I consider something that looks like very vibe coded. I wonder if I just look up like vibe coded projects Bolt. If I just go to images, kind of like this. This to me feels like kind of vibe coded. Not exactly. It's enough of a difference that it does some things, but particularly like the font, the color style, icons are usually a dead giveaway. But let's just see if I can find any more. Something like this. Yeah, this is definitely like a vibe coded project. You can see this stuff. So I kind of just want to go away from this look enough so that you stay away from that sort of. I mean, it is an ugly interface to be honest with you. Here it is. Well, it's got an issue with the back end. So we won't solve it, but you can get my point, right? We have icons, we have different things. And again, this is just a situation where I want to get away from it, because if you can build something that looks like quality, feels like quality, and actually deserves to be taken seriously versus like kind of like fighting your way down from people just being like, oh, you're just a vibe coder. It's the reality of where we are, guys. If you're a software engineer, you still are trying to like cling on to your clout and your influence of like engineering decisions. But I think that's going to change, and eventually we're all going to realize that this whole vibe coding thing is like, it's like saying like everyone has a media company if you have an Instagram. Like that's kind of true, right? And so it's like everyone wants to be an influencer. Well, maybe everyone wants to be a vibe coder in the future. So we're just ahead of the curve, right? So, anyways, getting back into this, we're going to go and focus on some things of display and functionality and make it better. So, right off the bat, I'm just going to turn on my transcription. And this is what I do. I go and I have it in front of me and I go like item by item. And I probably max out around like 5 to 8 items, depending on the complexity. And then I just tell this thing what to do, right? So, let's go and see what I would say. Great start. On the left-hand side, I want to have a line divider in the middle that will separate the two sections. In databases, populate it with rounded rectangles that have sample data of different databases. For instance, something covering like automotive engineering, another thing covering aerospace engineering, another thing covering architecture. And then for voice and agent, I want it to also be populated with rounded rectangles where you have examples of voices or personas or agents. And we can just call this, the CEO, the designer, and we can call this the marketer. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to review this. I actually want this to be for like something a bit more in our ballpark, I guess you can call it. So let's just imagine like the use case for this. Someone's going to use this, ideally in my mind. The end case, use case for this is that someone's going to use this for being able to tap into some databases that they have, and then being able to tap into some voices that they have across the company, see some already drafted articles from AI, make edits within here, and then decide that they want to publish it to some kind of publishing platform. Okay, so that's the thing. So I'm going to make this a bit simpler. I'm going to go with exercise. All right, so we're going to go, for instance, a food science database, a home workout database, and we're going to do a gym workout database. Okay. And then for the thing here, we're going to do the voice. We're going to do like the friendly trainer, the no bullshit trainer, and then we're going to do, we'll just do that for now. And then on the right-hand side, I guess we can also do this. On the right-hand side, do the same thing, but have 3 options: Facebook, Substack, and then blog. All right, so there we go. That's prompt number 2 officially. We're going to count up how many prompts it's going to take. I'm curious just how many prompts it's going to take to get to a place where I wouldn't be embarrassed to show this as an MVP. I'm not going to try to get this to the point where it's like an end product for an end user on a BDC level or even on a B2B level, but it would be something that I could demo to someone that I'd say, hey, this is an idea of what we could build. It doesn't have any of the connections. It doesn't have any of the data. It doesn't have any of the credentials. It doesn't have any authorization, stuff like that. But this is an example of what you could build out because I do know how to do all that stuff on the back end. So that's the point where we want to get it to, basically like an MVP. And you can decide if this is something that you'd rather be paid for or if you'd like to do it yourself or you'd like to do it like to be part of the proposal. In certain cases, it makes sense for one or the other, right? I won't get into that right now, but that's the goal. Get it to the point of an MVP. So we're letting it do its thing. And what I need to see is like the layout being a little bit closer to what I imagine in terms of like the expected functionality, right? I think we all have expectations when we open a software of, okay, I should be able to click this button or do this thing or perform this action, and it should be clear, right? When I say like you should be able to do it, you should be able to do it like within 10 clicks. You should be able to do it with, very little difficulty, okay? So that being said, we're still having an issue of this not having databases. All boxes have rounded corners, rounded Excel. I wonder if there's any view restrictions. No. So let me just tell it real quick. Not seeing boxes at all. So keep it simple. Anyways, a couple other things I could say, right? Where did this idea come from? It came from someone that's asking for this being built out in a make automation and Airtable. So I have an Airtable. Let me see if I can share this with you guys actually. Yeah, fuck it. So this is an Airtable that is doing something very similar where it's taking a topic, some notes and revision things, choosing an agent, and then choosing a stage. And then on the back end, it's tapping into the agent and tone is kind of combined in this one, but we're tapping into like a database and also like tone instructions. And then it's producing a Google link that's like a Google Doc, and it's going to have those words in it. So this is like the interface of how you're interacting with your AI. And this is a lot of what we build at my company, where we help people solve this problem first and foremost of how they're going to interact with their AI. And then because, going beyond a chatbot is really important in a lot of cases because you have structured data that you want to look back to, look at the revision history, and then you potentially have, these other things where you could publish that information out into the web and stuff. And a lot of that stuff can be done, but outside of the limitations of something like an Airtable or something like that. So that's why I'm creating this, because I wanted to show that it is possible. So let's see here. Components are correct. No, this is not. RLS policies. No, it's still thinking. Okay, well, I think it's being dumb right now. So we have to kind of snap it into place a little bit. Oh, no, there it is. Oh, hell yeah. Okay, cool. So something happened. All right. So not bad. Not bad. So what I want to do is, again, think through what people are going to be doing with this. And again, the UI is where we're going to go, like as far as like style in a second. But I still want to build out a little bit more functionality to get this to a point where I don't hate it. Okay. So we're going to do a couple more things here. Oops, I've been talking into my builder the whole time. Get this out of here. No. No. Well, that works. It's good to know that works. Okay. Bottom left, add in a quick prompt section, add another line divider, and then put in the ability, a long text field for a quick prompt, and then a button that says generate. That's going to take the different database plus the voice, and it's going to use that to generate something in the center. On the right-hand side, bottom right, add a little settings toggle and a dark mode toggle. And then change voice/agent to just agent. And change all the font to a nice, clean serif. That's another like quick little trick. Like there's so many sans serif based apps out there that I feel like serif has really gained a lot of this like premium quality back. We're talking fonts here, baby. But like I personally like serifs. I personally like Century Gothic and stuff like that. And so I found when using it in my apps that it's just made it look, in my opinion, pretty sexy. So let me show you. This is an example. If it's, yeah, this is an example of a maintenance portal that I built. And you see, like, I don't know, to me, that just looks kind of sexier and cleaner. I know that like all the biggest ones these days have like some very friendly looking sans serif font. But personally, I'm just kind of tired of that. Like it's all the same. It's all Lotto. If you know Lotto, that's another one that's like very, it's just a stupid free font that's everywhere. So it's either that. Let me see if I can do, let me see if I can do this actually with Claude. Can I ask it to give me what font this is? That'd be sick if I can do this. Where we at? Where we at? Okay, we're good anyways. So what font is this? I used to have to manually do this with like a website. What font? Yeah, this one. I used to have to do it with this one, myfonts.com. And it would work decently well, but let's just see. Inter. Yeah, Inter is also very similar. Yep, similar. Inter. Oops. Boom. See, just kind of boring. How much of a difference was that? Not much. The W is a little wider, a little thicker, but that's all same type of shit, right? Lotto's even more impressive than Inter. Inter's so boring. So personally, that's something that I do. And like I said, in terms of getting it to not have that quality of vibe coding, I found that that's something super simple that adds a nice touch and gets things going. I don't like it in terms of now that I see it, I don't like it everywhere. Um, and maybe we'll add that as like a potential, like what you would call it, decision, like in the settings or somewhere. But for right now, let's do this. Okay. So right now we're gonna do something. This is actually not like, let me just sit with it for a second. Hmm. Hmm. Why is it writing like that? That's so weird. Okay. It's not how anyone writes, but okay. Why is it writing backwards? What the hell? That's crazy. Is it like a, I don't know if it's like the insert key or something? That's weird. All right, cool. Okay. A couple more things here. Um, Here's what we're going to do. Okay. So, in my philosophy with vibe coding, you want to keep things, once again, streamlined and simple. And you want to make it so that enough information is present so you know what to do, but information that's not needed is not present. So, if you think about like some of the great products in the world, right? Like Docs, it's got the ribbon system, which is pretty good, right? But there's also this like full view that really feels like you're immersed in it. And this is what like Notion does pretty well as well, because Notion, what it does is it works off of a slash system. And whenever you slash, then you see all the complexity and options. But for the most part, it's just like a blank screen. If you know what Notion, you know what I'm talking about. And so with something like this, you have all these like subheadings and whatnot, and they're useful, but they're over explaining. And they're taking up a lot of space too. Like these are pretty big. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to clean this up, but not make it so that if there's information that's needed, it's not available. So let me show you. What we're going to do here on all the boxes, the rounded boxes, remove the sub headline and instead only show it upon hover as a hover hint. Remove the color dots and icons. Add a small settings button in the heading area next to databases and in the heading area next to agent. Remove the text in the box under quick prompt. Okay, so that's actually doing a fair amount of work as far as cleaning things up, right? So pay attention to where it's at right now. Look at all the individual components. Look how much is kind of like fighting you for your attention, right? You have the main section, but you look over here and you see like the main headings, and then you see the colors, and then you see the subheading, and then you see the scroll bar, right? And over here, same thing, different colors, different colors. And we just want to clean this all up so that, the main function of it, the writing, is going to be comfortable. And everything we need is still within grasp. Everything we need is still within reach. It's right around the corner. We just have to make sure that this thing is pleasurable and not taking up more space than it needs to. That's the big thing with these things, guys. There's a lot of cool products out there that are being built, but some of the best products are like a canvas or like a palette, a color palette for you to go and do your painting on. Like I said, with Notion, Docs, and stuff like that. And that's kind of what we want to build, right? Some other ones, accounting software is different, whole ballpark. But this is like writing, content generation, and publishing, right? And so we want to make it simple and like you got to think of like the flow. The flow is also thinking of the workflow, right? The workflow is like what's the inputs, what's the outputs. The inputs is you have databases and agent, the output is content and it gets published to your site. But the flow like moments, like as the person using it, you get into the flow where you can do all those things in a very smooth fashion without distraction and without having to like repeat actions and whatnot. So this is what we're trying to build out is like to actually make the flow, right? And if that's getting a little bit weird, leave a comment. I'll try to kind of define it a little bit better. But that being said, here we are. So clean things up. In my opinion, I like it better. So when we go to settings, if we need to, then we'd open up the screen where you go into the agent and then you can tweak the agent, the prompt and stuff like that. All right. So we're in a good spot now. I want to go ahead and change a couple things here and I want it to be simpler. So first and foremost, let me stop making it look so hideous to me. Yeah. Make the background for the sides and the top ribbon black, keeping the center gray. Check the center when I'm typing in there, it's typing backwards. Also with the hamburger, that should not open a side nav. That should keep the sides as they are, but the center should go from the document writer to the information that's in the nav bar currently. Also, make settings in dark mode just individual icon and not buttons. Whew, it's a lot of stuff there. So those are like 4 or 5 commands right there. We got to let it just chill and do its thing and then catch up to it. And then we'll see what we're working with. But this is the process. Like, again, it's fine to start with a bunch of different things, all that stuff and whatnot. But eventually you kind of drill down on the most important parts and you clean stuff up. Like, I forgot to test this. Oh, there's the hover, right? There's the hover. There's the hover. That's awesome. That's perfect. That's all you need, right? You don't need anything, especially if you're the person, excuse me, if you're the person that's like building these agents and databases, you're going to remember which one's which. You're going to name it in a way that you remember which one's which. I'm gonna let this cook for a second. I'll be right back. Okay. Okay. It is yeah, it's still doing its thing. So what else can I say about this? I'm trying to give you guys more sauce as like I think through it because let me show you this. This is something that is super cool. This is something, oh man, where is it? I think it's here. Oh, I know what it is. I can just type it in. lawsofux.com. This site is like foundational, right? When you think about persuasion, you think of Robert Cialdini and the book Influence, or you think about Tony Robbins, or you think about how to win friends and influence people. When you think about, other foundational sources of knowledge, there's like those things. This to me is something that has been that thing that I go back to over and over to remind myself of like the fundamental principles, right? And these are like laws of UX, but they're also like laws of like human perception, I guess you could call them fundamentally. And what they do, or as you read through this, what this does is it shows you the laws and then it describes it a little bit more with a couple more examples, right? A very simple way to look at things and learn things that have to do with UX in this case, but human psychology as a whole. And it's super interesting stuff if you like behavioral psychology or behavioral kind of sciences. But when it comes to your UX, it also helps you because something like this, Miller's Law, the average person can only hold 7 plus or minus 2 items. Keep 7 plus or minus 2. Yeah, 5 to 9 items in their working memory. That's why phone numbers are 9 digits long, if you didn't know that. cognitive load is kind of another example of that, right? We can only hold so much in it. And so we need to have limited stuff to interact with our cognition in order to get the best results for us. So that's kind of how I think about all this stuff too. Okay. So here we are. So anyways, refer back to this a ton, look through it, take away as much as you can from it. And it's so useful when it comes to understanding these things. Not every one of them is going to apply, but it's so useful to understand these things that you may have not really like paid attention to going throughout your life. But that being said, we're good there. So this is still doing backwards. This is, oh yes, perfect. That's exactly what I want. Okay, cool. So make all the boxes have a black background with white font or a slightly white, off-white font, and have a white, slightly off-white outline to the buttons. Make them all shorter and skinnier if you can. Remove the text in the quick prompt box. Make the scroll bars stylized, sleek, and minimal. Make the generate button white with black font for dark mode and the opposite for light mode. Oh my goodness. Okay. So still working this out, still doing it. I don't know why I was rushing with this stuff. We have, all the time. But yeah, just look at some of these, right? Users have a propensity to best remember the first and last items in a series. That's very useful information because if you have like a list, if you have a list on your, like a FAQ on your website, then you want to make sure that your first one and your last one are the most important. They're the ones that you have that kind of set the tone, right? Because people, because of this serial position effect, remember the first thing and the last thing. One of the, it's actually called like an anchoring bias, I believe, or something like that. And if it's the last one, it anchors, and if it's the first one, it kind of like presets as an anchor the conversation you're about to have or the thing you're about to have. What's up, brother? How you doing? We are going through and learning about Bolt. I'm building basically a writing platform. So it is writing platform with ability to publish if you're doing mute or something like that. But this is something that basically one of my clients, they had a desire to do this, and we built it out in Airtable. And in Airtable, it's useful, but it is just not as custom as it could be, right? So I wanted to build out something that they would be able to use, and it's just start to finish everything that they need. And let me show you. I want to show you the Airtable one real quick. It's not posting up. But anyways, the Airtable that we had was basically the same functionality. We're just doing this in a way that's sleeker and cleaner. Let me know if you're building something, and maybe we can kind of comment on it and jam on it. But right now, Bolt is just going through, touching up all the buttons. I'm still trying to get rid of this like vibe coding look. If you've ever played with Lovable or Bolt, let me know your background, Garuda. And you probably know what it looks like when I'm talking about. So I'm trying to get rid of just this ugly UI, and we're messing with it. And this is all stuff that's like in the background. Like this is something I refer to constantly to try to figure out how to make the best and cleanest UX and UI. And I have a background in graphic design, so I learned a lot of these things that I kind of forgot. But if you refer to this, lawsofux.com, super useful stuff. And it basically, like, if you're just ever confused, give it a shot, give it a go, and then it might help you out. Ooh, here we go. All right, so this is already looking so much better. So I'm going to full screen it here. I'm going to check it out. Published to where exactly? So I didn't catch. I'm also live coding in the background, listening to your stream. Yes, sir. So right now, just a blog, like a website or a blog, Facebook, and then Substack. These can all be tapped into with an API key once we actually take this off of Bolt and into something like Cursor, VS Code, or anything like that. Basically, as long as I have the API key, we can tap into that and we can make posts. We can even do Instagram, LinkedIn, any other thing like that. But that being said, we have this here. It's still typing backwards for some weird reason. On top left-hand side, once again, we have databases. So this is where you're going to get information about whichever topic you're doing. We're just doing like a trainer. Yeah, exactly, my friend. A multi-channel post manager. And we're doing it in one place, right? The key thing is like this could be done with a make scenario or like a Zapier workflow, but it just requires like tapping into a couple different places and whatnot. And if I could just do it here where I allow someone to have their knowledge base, have like their tone, different tones or writers that they want, and they can type in a quick prompt here, and then it shows up. They can make last minute edits, and then to just check one of these boxes, hit go. Then that's like you could do so many things. And if I put in a scheduler here, you can do that. And there's apps that do this out there for sure. But again, the big key thing that I try to build for is like custom to the end user. So if someone only, uses Facebook and Substack, I build just to that. And if they don't need all these other features and they don't need like the premium account and all these like extra users, I just build something that they can use and they can just jam on. The whole idea is just to make it easy for them to have their inputs and outputs. So I like it as is. Still a couple other things that I want to clean this up. Specifically, this one. It's like writing backwards for some reason. Yeah, it's a weird thing. Let me know what you're doing, Garuda, by the way. Let me know what you're vibing on, what's going on. I'm always doing the same thing. I don't know if you know the burnt peanut, but I put the burnt peanut on in the background sometimes while I'm vibe coding. And I use Whisperflow to like talk to my thing all the time. So I'm just like literally just spewing. I can get in a mode where I'm just nonstop. So what we're going to do a little bit more of that here, and I'm going to tighten this up. So let's make the top banner with the writing style options have a black background. The center main document writer is still taking inputs and writing it backwards. Make the publish to section, make that be multi-select. So I can choose one or all of those. And underneath that on the right-hand side, add the ability to schedule those posts with very basic things. All right, sick. We're going to let that vibe and drink some more water. Let me know, Garuda. Let me know what you're doing. I'm going to make this thing into like a video probably after this. So I'm just going to keep like spewing facts in the way that I think about stuff because, this is something that I've done quite a few times. UI Shadcon website. It's a banger for you. What do you mean? Shadcon website. Let's talk it out real quick. Ooh, yeah. So you're talking like a resource of, yeah, I have seen this one actually. It's like you get components of it and then you can even like copy and paste the code if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Appreciate the reminder, my friend. I appreciate the reminder because I have so many of these that are like in bookmarks and whatnot that you just kind of forget where they live. Like all these bookmarks. I have so many, it's ridiculous. So yeah, just a reminder on this one. I use Mobbin a lot for like UI inspiration. But what it's missing is like the code to copy and paste. So this is awesome. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you because a lot of this stuff you are kind of starting off with, and then you're just like making little offshoots. All the foundational stuff is pretty figured out. I'd love to know how much you're using this in your workflow, honestly. Like if you're doing everything or if you just like go back to like a certain few components of it. I know a lot of people have different like uses and relationships to stuff like this, whether you want to be like original or you want to build something out. If it's pure functionality or if it's more UI, be curious to see like when and where in your workflow you use it. But that being said, got this here, schedule post. Love it. This did not change into a multi-select. So that's the other thing. And then settings, this is still not typing backwards. Personally, I'm building review codes, dash to dot, so vibe coders can ship with ease. Tell me more, my friend. Tell me more. What is that exactly like? Are you trying to make it so that you're giving like templates to vibe coders so they can kind of like fill out your system and then they have security handled or like auth handled or like, yeah, tell me more what you mean by that. I'm interested. Okay. This thing keeps messing up a couple of random little should be simple stuff, but we're figuring it out. So I'm going to isolate the one core problem, which is, I'm just going to tell it core problem right now. You can visit the website much easier to understand, I guess. Yeah. Send it over. Center writing area is showing type inputs backwards. All right, so we're just going to isolate it because sometimes if it's too technical, if there's like just a weird thing and you give it a ton of prompts, it doesn't do well. So slow it down if you need to with functionality specific review codes, replace dot with dash. Oh, got you, got you, got you. So review codes dot with dash. Review dot codes, what are you talking about? Don't send me some Nigerian stuff, my friend. Review codes. I won't be able to sleep tonight. I don't want no threats. Review codes. Review dot codes. Review dot codes. Ooh, is this you? Is this you? Tell me this is you, my friend. I'm going to just go ahead and continue and under the assumption that it's you. Yeah, using that AI shot. That's awesome, man. That's freaking awesome. You got your UI looking clean. I love this banner right here. You know what you're doing in terms of like testimonial and like the proof of these names and all that. Whether you use it as like a builder or you use it in some relationship, very smart. Ship with confidence, 6 independent analysis phases, security, structure, dependence, quality, architecture, and 1 report you can actually act on. So it's a report, which is your deliverable. Interesting. Like that. No sign up required. So like, I'm just like speaking freely here, man. It's free to use. Alpha stage accuracy is 60% though. Yeah, I mean that's what it is, right? But you have the shop's open, right? You have a landing page, the shop's open. You're out here telling me about it. That's awesome. All these things that we're building these days, like we're in the Wild West. That's why the channel is called Vibe Code Cowboys, because we're in the Wild West and people, you know, as long as you're shipping, I think you're doing your part, right? You get the repetitions in. So right here, what is it doing? Free tier, 50 files max, ship cleaner code, paste your repository, get an analysis within minutes. Cool. Fetch repository, review repository, no credit card, free up to 50 files. I might take you up on this. Let me open up in a different section so that I have like a little, I'm going to find a GitHub that I don't use that much. But, you know, things like this, I think there's going to be a market for this. I think this is absolutely something. The question I would ask, and I think maybe you've thought about this a lot, but I think a user would ask themselves, like, what's the benefit of doing something like this instead of just opening up Claude Code and then having a conversation with it, right? I'm assuming what you're going to say is that you give like a report with a couple different sections, big categories, and you have like some commentary on it. And that could be valuable enough, right? Whether you have like a style to your commentary or like a certain type of like, you know, easier way of explaining things, you know, that's a lot of what people get paid for. Like consultants get paid to explain things very simply, right? So there could be some quality there, but I'm curious, like what you, in your opinion, would find to be like the differentiating factor between opening up an LLM or like VS Code or something, and then what you're offering. And then let me see if you maybe explained it though. Did you explain it? 6 phases, 1 cohesive report. Yeah, so you have like the phases and whatnot. Trusted by engineers, so you have like the social proof, so you just see like people actually use it. Quality score, security quality score, code review, architecture, rule basis, launch your first scan, takes 30 seconds, no credit card. I mean, dude, second pair of eyes, third pair of eyes is always useful. But like I said, that's kind of where my mind would go as like a potential user for this. Be curious to know if you have users, beta users. You said it was like pre-alpha, right? So alpha stage. So I don't know if that means users or no users. I believe beta would make sense to use users. But let me see if I have something that I don't really use anymore. Toolkit platform. Let's do toolkit platform. I think that's one that I actually have not touched in a while. Let's do this. Oh, there's an error. Where's my error? Do I have to make it public? Is that the thing? Oh, I probably have to make it public, right? Yeah, let me just make it public real quick. Love that question. Think of its independent code reviewer. The problem with auditing code base on the same environment you work the code base on is bias. Yeah, absolutely. Like context control, right, is like the name of the game. So I get you on that one. Whenever I do it, I use Cursor. I'm a Cursor guy. So whenever I do it, I try to open up a new chat. I try to tag the specific section, and then I try to ask it like a very pointed couple of questions, if not, you know, 2, 3 max. And the bias, I could see definitely, you know, the whole thing wants to find solutions for the code right away. And I'm assuming you have a prompt that's much more on like the critique focus side, or much more like looking through the foundations or the bones or things like that, right? The way that the LLM IDE works is that, I'm sure you know, it stores MD files as memory bank for the LLM. If you run audit on the same environment, LLM or the context audit should assume no context, right? Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you're kind of like with the IDE, you're mixing in the intentions and the goals, and that's kind of like clouding judgment. Yours is just more critique, more objective, more stuff like that, which is smart. That's very smart. And you could argue, I mean, make an MD file and, you know, have it have like the prompt of like a very heavy critique, but it's still hard to kind of get away from it. And I'm interested in seeing your specific, like, again, deliverable, like the PDF and stuff. So let me make this thing. What the hell am I doing? I got to make this thing public, and then I'm going to try it. Let me know if I'm doing this incorrect, if I need to do something different to get this public, my password in here. All right, let's try it again. Here we go. Yep, it's public repo only for now. I mean, that makes perfect sense. That's like a good security thing. So fetch. Haven't implemented GitHub auth yet. Yeah, no worries. Ready to review. This is cool. This is cool. I love it when like animations give this feeling of progress. And you did a good job there. I don't know how intentional that was, or if you found that on Shad. Man, I gotta take you up on that Shad thing. That a lot of this is sexy. I'm not gonna lie. So, anyways, showing like this type of thing that it like basically is informing the user that it found the data. To me, that's even this little loading toggle. All that stuff is super important. And this is so far looking solid, my friend. I really like the UI, the UX you got going on. Even this little like a gradient you have going on here. I don't know if this is a loading bar. Yeah, it's a loading bar. Slick as hell. So I'm going to see here, and we're going to let this go. And I actually have to go back to my project. Now we're juggling two things, man. This is awesome. All right. So fix the backward text. All right, backward text is fixed. Cool. We're going to do another prompt here while this is just gutting me with bad news, I hope. That's exactly what we want, right? And so make the document section have a black background. Make sure the publish to options have the like check mark option to toggle them on and off. Change publish to just publish. And then add basic settings screens for the agent settings and the database settings. That will allow us to change the title and then the prompt input for each individual component underneath the respective heading. All right, that was a whole mouthful. It's only 50, 60% accurate for now, though, so not as good. Need to fine tune the algo and the overall system. Yeah, I totally get it, bro. It's not a problem at all. As long as it's 50, 60% in the right direction for most vibe coders or people that would use what you have here, like look up what you have, is probably totally fine, right? And you're probably selling yourself short. You're probably being like your own biggest critic, to be honest with you. You know, I'll help you kind of with anything I can see here, honestly. But I'm pretty sure it's doing a great job, and it's definitely like a next set of eyes. So 20% here. Again, man, I love this gradient here. That's so cool. And then this little glow thing, like this is, yes, good eyes, man. You got good eyes, I can tell. So it's going through discovery, building architecture, memory, code structure, analyzing code structure, doing it, and then security, then code quality, then dependencies, then architecture assessment. So, and then repository master, I can open it, go to my thing, cool. I can kind of see progress. Again, very important to like show progress so that no one thinks that they have to refresh or something like that and then ruin it. So super cool. Diagram. Well, I like that. I like the ability to open up a diagram. That's super cool. Can I open up anything else? Probably not. Oh, another diagram over here. So that's cool. Security, vulnerability detection. This one's probably going to be complete ass because this was never like going live. Something that I shelved a long time ago. Okay, security, cool. Clear separation of concerns. Yeah, I'd be interested to see like the end output to this. So far, so good. So far, so slick. Need to fine tune the algo and the overall system. Yeah. I'm curious, like, what do you think is like the weakest part? What's that 40%? What's that missing 40%? Is it just the recommendations? Is it the accuracy? Or is it the fact that it's like speed or some kind of other metric? Or, what do you mean by fine tune and algo and stuff like that? So we're letting that cook. We're letting this cook. Everything's cooking. Check out Shadcon. I don't even know how to say this, but this is super, super slick. Super, super slick. Okay. Oh, we're looking good, man. We're looking good. So again, my friend Garuda, thanks for joining me one more time. The whole idea for this was to build it to like MVP stage. This isn't to the point where it's going to be we're shipping this out to anybody. This is to the point where I'm going to get this in front of someone that came to me looking for the same inputs and outputs, and then they have to kind of have my recommendation on where it's going to happen, right? So once again, Airtable. Well, actually, I can show you the Airtable. So the Airtable that I was using earlier, it's a system LLM can't just eat up all repo at once. Memory context limit. So I'm using MD structure as well, just like in muscle MD. So I've been chunkings MD measure. That makes sense. Yeah, because some people can be super unwieldy, and like it doesn't take that many features to have a very big, large file. And people that I've seen that have like come to me, because what I do for my business is create custom software for individuals using like AI tools like Cursor and stuff like that. But my background is like I said, I've done a lot of things, but most recently it was like automation. So that's like the underlying structure. And so people that don't have some of that background, they'll just like throw in a bunch of things, a bunch of triggers, a bunch of API requirements, a bunch of documentation requirements. And it's kind of built from this like messy beginning to begin with. And so your tool is doing like a lot of the heavy lifting to like inform this person, right? So I understand like huge files makes it difficult. So this is like going through the process of chunking it and then reviewing it bit by bit and then restructuring it and putting it into something that's simple. That's not a small process. That's not a small achievement to do, right? So, good on you for tackling it, because this is I guess what I do like as a service is what you're doing. Like I audit things and then I go and build it. I go make the fixes or I go build it. So anyways, just to show you real quick, like this is an example of like the same functionality of content where you write a topic, you write some notes, you click on one of these drop downs, and then it populates a Google Doc. But again, I can demo this to the person that asked me for that. And then this, I believe, is much more fluid and an exciting experience for someone to log into and use. Yes, chunking and structuring is the biggest challenge, probably 20% of the missing piece. Yeah, I get you, man. And like, obviously every model that comes out is a little bit better. Like Opus was better than the other ones and so on and so forth. It's tough. You're asking it to take an entire code base, to categorize it, to analyze it, to make recommendations on it, and then to feed it back in a way that's not going to break the existing code base. That's tough. Again, I would love to know like if you have users or if you have done some test runs and like any feedback that you've gotten or like what's going on as far as like getting this into people's hands. And do you see this more as like a B2B play or like a B2C play? Are you targeting like vibe coders, or are you targeting like enterprise businesses? And this is just part of your process, just curious, like, where you imagine this living in terms of like the market or the users. It's almost done though. I'm excited. I want to see this. Back here. Yeah, this is looking good. Honestly, this was my whole goal. Yeah, I'm at 48 minutes. This was my whole goal, just to get this to a point where it doesn't look hideous and where I could take this and someone could understand the basic idea. Garuda, maybe you could tell me if you saw this, if I had 5 minutes with you on a phone call and I just walked you through this, would you understand what's going on? Like, would you understand the inputs of what a database is, what an agent is, the functionality of like make me an article on X, and then there you go, on X topic. And then we decide we'd publish it on the blog and on Substack. We'd schedule it and then it would publish. And then you'd see your documents. And then probably I'd need to see like another screen for like scheduled posts and stuff like that. But that's it. That's as simple as it would be. And you would just do this, time and time again. If you're like specifically a writer, this is easy. If you need images, maybe that's a different story. But I'm pretty happy with where it is. And I could present this and I could probably sell like the full implementation of this for a couple grand. On the low end, 5K. On the higher end, depending on like someone's use case and stuff, 10, 15. So that's what I would be looking to do with something like this. Take this. Again, this demo took me, let's see, how many prompts? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, oops, 9, 10. Oh my goodness, literally 10, literally 10. Well, I'm biased since I know a bit technical as well, but I guess don't use too technical term like database. Okay, yeah, I feel you. Knowledge base is what I feel like the person out there, person knows. And this is like a huge thing that I talk about in some of my other content. I have a school. If you want to join for free, my man, join in. You're welcome. But this is something I talk about. It's like the definitions of everything is so vague and ambiguous right now. Like agents, for instance. I haven't used agent for a long time because people thought that it was something that would be self-correcting and then like self-tuning and then self-implementing and just like completely autonomous. And that's just not where most things are. And that's not where you want most things to be, right? Like if you're using this thing to respond to like sales questions or sales messages, you probably want to give it a look over if money depends on the other side of it, right? So a lot of these things like agents and databases, it's good to hear other people's perspective on like what it means, right? Because some people see agentic, agent, workflows, autonomous, Claude code. A lot of people are getting mixed up on, stuff like that. So yeah, good eyes on that one. But I'm pretty much good. I'm happy with that. Like I said, 10 prompts to get to an MVP. That's awesome. This is something that I'd happily show someone so they can get the idea. And then we take it from here, probably move it into Cursor, maybe a little bit more, and then move it into Cursor. But then we would do that through GitHub, obviously, and then we would take it into the final stage. Yeah, exactly. So try to build things and dumb it down. Yep, exactly, man. And I could tell from your interfaces that you're paying attention to that. So let's get into what you got here, man. I want to try to give the rest of this time. I'm gonna probably be staying on for like 5 more minutes. But again, join the school if you want. You can message me anytime. This is really cool. We got discovery. It's just like outlining the entire thing. So it's going in order, code structure, identifying modules, find 10 modules across chunks, main app, email, Anthropic service. Okay, so it's specifically pointing out my modules. Sounds like it's doing like some common ones, but it's also able to realize like my specific things. And then it gives me like this diagram, which I've always found super useful. So super cool. And this is part of like your dumbing down process, which I like, because I feel like you probably had to make the decision on what could be expanded on and what couldn't. And the fact that you keep the diagrams in there, smart, and then you just have like a couple little snippets here, that's cool too. So reviewing design patterns, functional components. This is fix, continue, extracting usable logic, custom hooks. Okay. So I'm assuming the green text is like opportunities fixes, and it's not exactly like a fundamental thing. It's just already suggesting continue separating data from logic. Yeah, some maintain explicit prop typing, continue consistent naming conventions. So a lot of these are continues. So I'm curious, is there like an urgency level to this? Are these like rather suggestions or what's going on there? Because there's a lot of them in this section, none of them on top. Well, this one's like a good suggestion, so it's not even like a fix. So curious how you kind of see what this line is doing here. Assessing core organization. Let me analyze structure directly. So this is the first time I've seen something like this where it's like kind of narrating. That's interesting. I think it was cleaner without it personally. That's just mine, because like this, if someone reads this, maybe they just get a little bit like, whoa, what should I do with that? But that's totally fine. Up to you. Got notes. Note low. So what is that showing me? Because everything's been a note so far. So this has got to be some kind of priority level. Low, some components. Consider grouping, feature, or layout. Okay, low. Another diagram, security, high. Okay, so this is like urgency. When it's note, I'm assuming it's like basically neutral. Okay. And then now you have like longer fixes. Cool. High fixes, medium fixes. It'd be cool if like per section, we would start at the most critical and then work our way down. Just personally thinking of like how I would sort these things. I don't know if they're sorted like alphabetically or if there's like a logic behind that, but that's what I would be using or be thinking through as like the next step. It's like which one of these tackle, right? Because there's like 5 medium things, 5 high things. Probably start at the top and go down, or maybe it's already doing that. Is it already doing that? Critical. Well, it is, I guess. Oh no, yeah. My bad. I did not see it. This was a new section. Okay, you're good. Gonna go down. Yeah, still need to figure out the UI UX. Thanks for your input. Really helpful. Yeah, for sure, man. I love doing this stuff, like little friendly roasts and whatnot. Code quality, review error handling, critical API exposed, and error response. Yeah, that's just a bad one. I'm telling you, this is not a live project. Don't judge me on this one, but yeah, this is like long time ago. Empty catch blocks, swallowing errors, high inconsistent error handling, medium code. Okay, so it's going through. Where are we at? Compiling quality score. Going through dependencies. So off the bat, what I would say too is like this is a deep dive and this is genuinely useful information. But again, like following the reality that like humans are lazy and that user interfaces tend to be on the clunky side rather than the smooth side, maybe there's like a simplified view and then there's like an in-depth view. So I can go through and I can just see, okay, these 5 things I have are critical. I got to go focus on those. And then I'm not sure if I'm going to run into this in a second, but maybe there's a potential where all the fixes can just have like a play button or like an implement button right next to it, and then it can get going. At the end, there's a markdown report you can download and feed to your AI. Got it. Okay. That's how you do it. That's like the deliverable. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking with like the play button because it doesn't have access to the code base directly. You're right. Cool. So same pattern. And there we go. This, honestly, I feel like this should be at the top. I think this is so cool looking. I think this is so like dashboard feeling that it should be at the top. That's my personal opinion. Up to you. Or having it in both wouldn't hurt. But I feel like this is the what's the word? This is the abstract for a scientific paper, right? So you put your abstract in the front, and then maybe this could be. There could also be like some kind of like literal like paragraph based abstract, like, hey, for the most part, this thing is pretty good. There's a couple areas here, and here. If you'd like to deep dive into the rest of it, maybe there's linked text, so you can just like quick scroll down to that. And then last thing I want to look at here is like the MD file. It says languages, cool. So download report. There it is, man. Quick thing on this one. I almost missed it. If I wasn't over here and scrolled down, I would have, and you hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known. Executive summary, it's lacking, to be honest. I mean, it's cool. I think you have like the pieces of information. It's just like this scan complete. If that goes at the top, I feel like that's like, boom, like this is your report, And then this whole thing here, again, you probably just have to beta test it, man. I'm one user. I'm giving you my personal opinion on how I do these things. Some people probably want to see examples. Some probably people don't. It's just up to the majority on that one. It's like a volume approach, but happy to give you my input. But anyways, what I was going to say is like the download report thing, probably make that a bit more obvious, right? Like probably make that like the very next item that you're doing, like within this first frame, like this hero section of a discovery report, probably make that there. And here, if you want to keep it there too, but just like stupid obvious to the point where you don't want to allow someone to like leave your site without them knowing that you just created something for them. And unfortunately, the way like my screen laid out, but you got to remember, right? We're building for like 13-inch screens and potentially mobile views. I don't know if you have a mobile view, but yeah, something as silly as this could make it so that the whole experience and like the value derived from you is not taken as seriously because of that. But that being said, we have an MD file. Everything's good. And here it is. Here it is in an MD file. So this is awesome. Yeah. Overall, yeah, I got it. I've been developing the UI on my own viewport LO, so I haven't tested in many viewport sizes. Yeah. I know that happens to me too. I remember one time I was like super psyched with the layout, and then I shipped it to the client for a review, and they're like, everything's wonky because of like the line breaks were weird and the sizing was weird. I didn't have basically like the ability for it to go from small to medium to large. So yeah, something I had to learn the hard way too. The viewport is like, it's a bitch. But that being said, my man, I love the idea of telling you like so many good things here. This, if you move this to the top, the visual element of it is so good. You have a good visual taste. You have like just enough going on to where people are like intrigued but not overwhelmed. The style is sick. And then, obviously I didn't use the report, but I imagine it's probably super useful. And I wonder if maybe in the future, like development, you could decide, because I imagine, right, someone, takes this download, they put it into their IDE and they fix it. Don't credit me for the UI. It's completely shotgun, really. I mean, it's still your taste, brother. It's still your taste, right? You have a whole library bookshelf about all the greats and stuff, but you pick the one off that you read and you feed your brain. And same thing, right? You got a whole options out there. It's up to you to like paste it and put it together. But I like the humility as well. I like the humility. So I appreciate you. But anyways, good job on the choice. What I was going to say about the functionality though, right? This is like a master review. What I would do, speaking in terms of like taking this seriously, taking the MD and like moving into my project, I would take it, do that. But then I would want to come back. And I don't know if I would want to come back and do like the entire scan. Maybe there'd be like a scan for like specific fixes if my profile saved that stuff, or like one of these section if my profile saved that stuff. So I don't know if you have, let me see. Do you have like profiles? No, I don't think you have profiles. Maybe that's in the, in the game plan to have profiles so that someone could come back and then, have like their save history, and then like they can see all the different things and do like individual scans, individual component scans. And then obviously their profile would have like their history and stuff like that. So that's what I would do there. But I love it, man. I think there's no shame at all in using like templates or anything like that. It's a resource. We all have it. So putting them together with it is awesome, right? Yeah, I plan PR review as part of the CI, but that's something I need to add once the GitHub auth is ready. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. When do you plan on like sending this into like the next 10 users, let's say, like either a beta test or something like that? And do you have like a group that you go and do that in? I've tried a few different places myself. One of them was called Startup Club or something like that, where for another unrelated thing that we were building today, I got like a couple of users to give me their feedback and stuff. And I find it to be like super helpful. That's why I was trying to like kind of give you as much as I can. And to be fair, man, like, take it all, take what's useful and take what's not. I'm just giving you one man's perspective from a guy that could genuinely use something like this though. So hopefully I gave you some sauce, because that's been super, super critical for me. And I think you're doing the smart thing by going out there and putting it in public eyes. So I'm curious if you're going to put it like in a real beta and have like some kind of responses and something like that. So we'll ask that last question. Gonna grab some food, take a little rest, and then I got some projects to get into in a couple of minutes. But thanks for sticking around, Garuda. Much pleasure. I'm probably gonna edit some parts of this and make it into a YouTube video, and then I'm gonna push it out there, perhaps in the future once accuracy is 80 to 90%. Well, my friend, I think you're doing solid. And it sounds like you are thinking through all the problems that like I've identified, or just the areas of improvement that I identified. And I think that, maybe cut yourself some slack. Maybe it doesn't have to be 80, 90%. Maybe it can be 72, like the 72 virgins or something like that. Pick a number that's a little less than you think, and just push it out there, get some feedback. And whether it's this product or your next product, you'll get somewhere to that feeling of like shipping it, and then it'll just give you that kind of like feedback loop of like, all right, wasn't too bad to get that feedback, wasn't too bad. And if you're anything like all the vibe coders that I know, you probably have like multiple ones. Thank you for your insight, super helpful. I'm on X as well if you're down to connect. Yeah, absolutely. Send it by, just send the at whatever, and then I'll hit you up. It's going to be the same thing, Vibe Code Cowboys. You're going to see my little like icon in there. I'm not on X all the time. I'm tweeting some stuff every now and again. So if I ever don't DM you back, don't worry about it. Don't take it personally. Like I said, I'm on YouTube the most, and then I'm moving into school. I want to try to kind of do more of this. I think that a lot of people would benefit from having like this little roast sort of thing, and just like a community. Or I'm also talking about like the state of AI, because I'm paying attention to it, obviously, because I have to stay ahead of it. And we're talking Claude Code, we're talking agents, we're talking automation, we're talking all this stuff. And so this is what I do day to day. Might as well have a channel where we can all have fun, not take things too seriously, and hopefully be a part of like the new class of builders, man. I'm super hyped about this. I think this world is going to change for the better, because we're deciding to be on the side of process, on what's it called, progress, right? We're the people that are driving the cars when everyone else is driving horses. So I'm excited as hell. Again, send over your X real quick, and then I'm gonna hop off, and then we're gonna hop on. Probably, I don't know. I'm gonna aim to do like one of these per week. I don't always have like projects that I can just like jam on and stuff like that, but it's super cool to hop on here with something to do, and then with the ability to kind of talk with you guys. This was cool too, by the way. It's like super unplanned. Garuda, I got your thing. Bold names. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. Really, really do. Honestly, appreciate you for coming here, for letting me in on what you got going on, and all the best to you. Let me know when you want the next series of any sort of feedback or anything like that. All right. I'm gonna hit you up on X. I'm gonna go. Have a good rest of your night, and then I'll talk to you later, man. All right. Peace.